Hi. Don't give me those
Hi.
big eyes. Don't look
You
at me
think
with
my
those
eyes are
eyes.
big.
Hello and welcome to Honey Do Me podcast. I'm Emma.
And I'm Cass, and this is our podcast where we just break down all the nitty gritty that there is when it comes to sex and mental health and relationships, all of the things that we are taught should just be the easiest damn things in the world. And so when you're not good at them, you feel like you're broken.
Yeah.
But we are here to tell you that you are absolutely not broken. You are not alone. We are on the same path as you. Nobody is special, and we mean that in the most loving way possible, because whatever embarrassing thing happened to you last week when you were trying to get it on has also happened to yours truly. And we're just here to remind you that's fine.
That's fine. It's
Mhm.
fine. It's all great because you have a community here of people who want to support you and get you so many orgasms in like the least stressful way. So welcome and thanks for being
Welcome.
here. We also, I feel like, break down, which is kind of similar to our topic today, how we might be thinking we're addressing an issue in the root problem one way, but really we help like open up our minds to understand like maybe some of this shit is happening a lot farther outside of the bedroom than a thought. And that is like a huge reframe that we all need if we want to have better sex.
Well, yeah, we always say, what happens in the bedroom is
Yeah.
connected to what happens outside the bedroom. But it's one thing to hear that and another thing to be like, oh, I'm like struggling to orgasm, or I'm struggling to maintain an erection. And we're taught to think like those, it's just biological, or you're just not thinking the right things. But it's like there could be so much more at play. We talk about it a little bit in this episode, but I know like when I was early postpartum and like my partner and I were having a difficult time because it's just hard and stressful. Of course we were not fucking. Of course we were not fucking.
Yeah.
And if I had just looked at that like there's something wrong with our relationship because we're not having sex and not seeing the whole picture, which I feel like that example is not the best because of course, like when you just had a baby, things are stressful. But like if you ignore that, you're just cheating yourself and you're making yourself feel like shit for literally no reason because you're not broken. You're not
Yeah.
special and you're not broken.
Right. You just need a little bit of help to zoom out, which plug, we also launched coaching. So if you're looking for a little bit of assistance there to help you zoom out and game plan what a better sex life for you could look like, we're your girls because we just launched one-on-one coaching. You can find that at every single link in our bio if you want to fill out the intake form. And if we feel like a great fit, we'll send you an email and get you scheduled for like a strategy session. Can you say that without stumbling? Because I can't.
Because I can't. That's not what we're here to help you with, though.
Strategy session, where we just kind of like look at what's going on and then really map it out for you and kind of see what the game plan is. But everyone needs a little bit of help. And we have had help from 300 experts over 5 years. So we just cannot wait to pass that along to you.
Yeah. And if you want a little bit less of a commitment, you want to see what your girls are all about, you can start with our Patreon because we have a lot of exclusive content downloadables there as well. All of that's going to be linked, but weirdly enough, that's not why we're here today, to promote ourselves.
Oh, I forgot.
Oh no.
Oh no. No, today, which is actually so interesting for us, we're talking about something we didn't even know connected to sex, but like shocker, that's how it works. We're talking to Jaiming today, and she is a traditional Chinese medicine practitioner. And holy shit, I cannot believe how much sex overlaps with traditional Chinese medicine and how much we do not know about the help we could be, or the tools we could be using to assist our sex lives that we go over today.
Yeah, there's so many reframes in this episode. And also like actionable, simple practices that you can implement, which we love. So we won't keep you from her any longer. Please enjoy, and we'll see you on the other side.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Lovely to meet you all. My name is Jaiming. I am, first off, a licensed Chinese medicine doctor who specializes in customized herbal formulation. I work on all kinds of different conditions, most commonly autoimmune, very commonly on sexual disorders, especially when it concerns men and also a lot of women, especially during, during the postpartum time or during perimenopause. And I also work a lot on pediatric Chinese medicine. So basically I'm the puzzle doctor who handles conditions when everyone has seen everybody and has no idea what to do with themselves. They come to me.
Got it.
So
love that.
apparently that's what I'm famous for. I'm also famous for my celebrity tongue reading that spell out everyone's secrets just by looking at your tongue. In my past life, I am a health economist trained at Columbia University. I was a economist for 10 years, and some of my work has taken me from New York City to Singapore to Jordan in the Middle East. So yeah, that was the old chapter.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much it.
My gosh, you've had 2 very full lives then. You got your hands full. Well, we're so excited to chat with you today and really dive into Chinese medicine and also using it in the sexual health space.
Yep.
So can you give a little bit of a definition of what Chinese medicine is and also why it would be something that people aren't using, so they come to you and it's like the last puzzle piece, like you said?
Well, I think it's very interesting because in East Asia, Chinese medicine really is the first piece. It's not the last resort. I think due to the fact that we as Chinese, I can say this because I am Chinese, we're very famous for gatekeeping. So Chinese medicine has been around for 3,000 years.
Wow.
And as you know, China is one of the biggest market in the world. So, there is no need. It's very popular in Southeast Asia, in basically Canada. It's been popular. It's been around for such a long time. Customized Chinese medicine has historically been the elitist form of Chinese medicine, if that makes sense, right? Everyone knows about acupuncture is really the physical therapy part of Chinese medicine, which is becoming more common. Customized Chinese medicine is really about having a formula specifically made for you to target all your symptoms. As we know, if we say, oh, someone has difficulty with getting up, usually that's not the only problem they are facing, right? There are usually a variety of issues underlying or not that they faces. And basically customized Chinese medicine is very much so targeted towards all your problems as a person and really tackle it from the root. So usually I'm a victim of my own success. Whenever I'm done with a patient, they're gone. And I don't expect to see them ever again. So, it's very different from the pharmaceutical space where you need to take this forever. If you don't take it, there is consequence. This is like, recently, just even yesterday, I had a patient like one batch and she's done. So I'm like, bye, pretty much like we're done.
Yeah.
So it's very different. I should also mention that, Chinese medicine, especially customized Chinese medicine, really relies on lineage. So I am second generation Chinese medicine practitioner. My father is one of the most famous Chinese medicine doctor, and he has a huge clinic, and he has, which really puzzles me, but he sees on average 40 patients a day for the past 45 years. So it's really quite insane. But
my
so
God.
that's very much so about Chinese medicine. It's never about what's wrong with you.
Right.
It's more about rebalancing. So it really gives people a sense of empowerment rather than saying, you can't get it up and this is it. This is a, crime of sorts. Like you really have something. This really most of the time is about rebalancing. As anybody who live in the society who's familiar, right? You take Adderall, there is a side effect. You take Viagra, there is side effect. So there is always a give and take. And this is really about how we can manage naturally without taking something away from you, give your porn star status back into your life.
I love
and that's
that.
really my secret dream, is to treat porn stars. So yeah.
Oh my God. That sounds incredible. And that's exactly what we talk about from our perspective of things that arise in the bedroom. It's like, it is not one thing that has affected what your intimacy is like with your partner. It is so much more than that. And we really need to be looking at the whole picture, addressing the whole picture to even begin to see change and improvement. So I love that this can be such a beautiful crossover, and it feels like such a natural thing to include in our intimacy.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
mean, it's interesting because we don't talk about sex
Yeah.
enough.
Yeah.
And then, and I, as an economist, I feel that because we treat sex almost as a commodity, right?
Yeah.
You don't talk about it, it becomes something you can sell, right? If I'm thinking about a lot of the industries and products surrounding it, which is all great. But the reality of the matter is, sex is more than that. Like for
Mhm.
men, straight men, or in particular, actually, not just men, but in particular for men, sex is an important indicator of your vitality. So, anyone who has problems in the bedroom, in particular when you are a male, that usually means you already have a lot of mental challenges, you already have digestive issues, you already have a lot of energy issues.
Mhm.
So when people say like, "Oh, that just means I need to go and inject myself with some like, a male hormone," you will notice, and I don't know, we don't need to name the names, but you will notice your interest might be coming up, but your performance stays subpar.
Okay.
Because
Mm.
the ultimate sexual act is a yin and yang. The interest is the yang, is the warmth, is the interest, right?
Mhm.
The performance itself, that is both, there is the ejaculation, there is a can you get it up? Like, this is not just simply I'm going to do it. I have the interest and I will get it up. Like, it's not like that. And for women is way more complex, but nonetheless is a very important indicator of your overall well-being rather than just saying, okay, I have no libido, then
Mhm.
nothing is wrong with me, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's way more than that.
Yeah.
That is so different from like the Western medical frameworks we use to talk about sex, which like
Mhm.
barely talk about sex or only talk about the problem. I love that you said, there's nothing wrong with you. And we're like trying to
Right.
balance things.
Right.
And that just felt so like everything that you just said about how we can use traditional Chinese medicine to learn more about our sexuality. Are there any other ways that we can use it to better understand our sex lives?
It's interesting because I'll give you clinical example enormously, of course, is most of I see a lot of depression patients, especially men. So these are usually patients who have been on antidepressant for a long time and they're not responding,
Mhm.
right? And before seeing them, I take one look at a tongue and I have a very thorough questionnaire. Every single one-on-one is like an interrogation of a lot of things, but even usually, I will already know that likely there is no libido for a person who is chronically depressed, right?
Mhm.
Because in Chinese medicine, for man, because the anatomy and everything, like you have to get it up, and then there has to be a successful ejaculation, right? This is not a simple thing, right? So that usually means that there has to be a lot of functionality and blood that will form that firmness for you to even have that, rather than what I see a lot clinically with young men these days in particular is that they can get it up, but it stays up for like a few seconds and it goes down,
Mm.
right? And then sometimes you're told, oh, it's just you're nervous, you're not focused. Like, it's not that. It is that because of our lifestyle and because of your energy, because of your digestion, your body is not able to produce enough of qi and blood to really sustain you.
Mhm.
When people think about sex, we think it's so simple, right? It's the same as women in
Yeah.
pregnancy, which is like, well, you go do it, and then next thing you're pregnant. And the simplest thing requires the most concentration, and is usually sex, in particular for men. In this case, for my patient, you will see that there is no libido, there is no vitality. Depression is so bad in a way that the person has difficulty in getting out of bed. The person feels that they have this random shivers, to feel cold very easily. And this makes perfect sense in Chinese medicine because ultimately we are a evolving organism, and you move, you have warmth, you have functionality. When there is this much of depression, this much of coldness in you, there is no functionality. And for something like a sexual act, you need that functionality in
Mhm.
order for something like this to happen.
Right.
So it's never just when people say like, oh, everything else is fine, I'm just occasionally impotent. It's not so simple.
Not so simple.
Mhm.
No. I think that it's such a beautiful approach too, because like I would have never thought about like the shivers or like the coldness in your body when we're talking about depression and then therefore like impotency. But it's like normalizing so much of your body's reactions to these larger things that are going on in your life that when we go to doctors here, primarily we're seeing people that don't take the time to understand what's going on. And if like Cass and I have gone to doctors and they're like, we tell them like, no, we have this issue and this hurts and this is like overwhelming for me. Whereas I feel like what you're describing in Chinese medicine could be like, yes, this makes sense. Let's tackle this. But a lot of the times the doctors that we're going to are like, right. Yeah, you're just a little stressed and here's medicine. And it's like, we're not tackling these problems that really affect the quality of life that we're having. And it's overwhelming. And it puts you in this like position of feeling like there's really nowhere else to turn because you don't even get the help you're needing from the professionals that you have in your life.
I think it's unfortunate. As a
Mhm.
health economist, it's interesting because I was in charge of one of the biggest think tank in the world on data, on
Mhm.
older adults data in Singapore. And a lot of the data you get is from asking the patient directly. So if you don't believe in patient, then you have no data. Like even for me is like, you obviously have to know what to ask. The questions we do at Kun, for example, my clinic, it's very intentional.
Mhm.
But you give the answer because you know how you feel, right? Like on this topic, very quickly, like for example, we'll talk about females' sexual freedom and female sexual pleasure. And what we very talk about almost never in the society is pain associated with sexual intercourse for women,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mhm.
I have seen a lot of patients who get told later, oh, maybe it's just pelvic floor. Maybe you're just too anxious.
Mhm.
Maybe you
Yeah.
have performance issue.
Mhm.
By saying that, the person who tell you put themselves at a higher position than you are, right? They say they know your body better than you do. But you know exactly how you feel after each sexual performance. You know how you feel after eating. And those symptoms, maybe to the outside world, might seem bizarre. And I can tell you, most of the time in Chinese medicine, it is not bizarre. It fits into a pattern. For example, a very common symptoms for women, especially younger women, especially if they have a history of fibroid, a cyst, is pain during sex, depending on the position. Then you get brainwashed in thinking, I just don't like the doggy position. No, that gives me the pain. Anatomically speaking, that makes sense, right? But then how does one explain then you also have heavy period, you also have intense PMS, you might have a surge in libido before period, and in some cases you might have women who have the spasm in the vaginal area after sex. Why does that happen? It's not just all nerves, right? There is a condition in Chinese medicine called cold retention in the liver channel, which the liver channel goes directly through the vaginal area to the private part and through all the way up to your boobs and into the head. If you do acupuncture, you'll know what I'm saying. But in short, this explains why most women who have pain during sex or after sex, the intense spasm, also tend to have very bad PMS symptoms, also tend to have clotted period, also tend to have all this weird inflammation and agony that you don't even know like where they come from. So this is not at all just you're just too nervous. This is overall sex is a very important indicator for life. And I ask this question every single time. I always say like I'm gonna start asking questions that might get uncomfortable. And sometimes I have a whole family of patients, the wife and husband, and then I will ask each of them. They occasionally give me different answers, which is interesting. So yeah, is a huge topic I'm fascinated with because it's important.
Yeah. I'm so glad you're talking about how all of it is connected. And just, I think it's so easy to feel like when things aren't coming easily, and we talk about this a lot on this podcast, when, sex is painful and you aren't just naturally good or whatever at all of these different things, it can feel like you're broken, especially if we're not connecting it to like, oh, well, I do also have heavy periods. So like maybe something is going on with me. If all I think is like, nope, I'm just broken because I can't have penetrative sex because it hurts. Like that just, it's so isolating. It's not empowering at all. And it's like, why would I even try and learn how to fix that? Because I just know it hurts. And like, I'm not going to crave having something that hurts. So I just love the perspective that you're bringing to this. And I'm also wondering if maybe you could walk us through, and I know it's so specific to each individual and their like situation, but if you could kind of walk us through, like, if somebody came to you that was experiencing pain during penetrative sex, some simple practices that they, or I don't know if they're going to be simple or not, but some practices that they could start incorporating to work on that by themselves if they aren't able to come in to see a practitioner.
I think the number one thing you need to do is to have full trust with your partner. Like, you cannot feel like if you react in a certain way halfway through, they get excited, they're about to do it, and you're like, if you already feel that it's the muscle down there is going to feel super tense, and then you can be guaranteed there is going to be. So I think the mental understanding, the mutual understanding between the two parties is very important, right? We all know for men, orgasm seems to be really straightforward. 1, 2, bang, 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 and then you're done, right? And then they're done, and we're like, well, that is just not satisfying at all, right? If I'm just thinking like, this is so unfair. But then most women of a certain generation are still built to feel like, well, like, but shouldn't I just go along with it, right? Like, I've already, like, we've said we'll do it, and then I'm like, I can't back out. You can. So, like, I think it's very important to have a honest talk with your partner. Role play is super important. If there is intense muscle down there, there is not going to be that much of lubrication. There's not much of lubrication. Is almost like a gate that is kind of closed, and then you're trying to tell the night, well, it's okay, you can still come in. I mean, like, that just sounds like a bad idea, right?
Yeah.
Overall, so communication is super important. Do one thing at a time. Sexual act doesn't just mean penetration. We all know what men want, but, like, it's not just about them. Right? We already know that. So
Absolutely.
it's important to do small, intimate act, small dose at a time. To train your comfort level. That's number one. Number two, I would say that definitely avoid iced matcha, iced drinks, iced coffee, ice, and cold beverages. Usually for people who have this kind of intense pain during sex, their period is already not good, right? So then, like, the last thing you want to do is to pour more cold in your system, because in Chinese medicine, really, cold congeals. When there is that much of cold, your blood circulation slows down. Blood circulation slows down, nothing works, right? So, like, avoid that. And the last thing I would say is that, redefine sexuality, redefine intimacy, right? If it's only painful during penetrative sex, there is oral sex, there is like a bunch of things. Experiment. And I think this is when a understanding partner comes into play, right? I think it's I've definitely had patients who will say, like, well, but my husband would just be so disappointed, or my boyfriend would just be so disappointed. You need to put yourself first before putting them first. If you're going through this much of pain, I don't think they will truly, they care for you, and I don't think they want you to go through this, right? They don't want to be the reason that you're hurting. So, like, have conversations, do small doses of intimacy act at a time. That really helps. And avoid cold drinks.
Cass just got handed right before we started, like, a big ice cold matcha from her husband.
Actually, it's room temperature for the record, because I asked him not to put ice in it, so I knew intuitively. But also, I'm not experiencing pain during sex right now, so leave my iced matcha alone, Emma.
So sorry. Oh my gosh. Those were incredible things that we could start with at home. How different are those practices from something that you would suggest if someone came to see you in your office, or like something that you would do in person with someone? Or is it kind of the same advice if we're seeing a practitioner?
No, because I am a little bit different, because I am a health economist also, who is super familiar with all kinds of boring data, as we say. usually whoever who comes to see me on a one-on-one not only will get their customized herbal formulation so they can start transforming from day one, they will get a report that's packed with nutrition and lifestyle tips, and there will also be a lot of customized nutrition and lifestyle tips that I
Okay.
give to them. Now, for men and women who specifically have libido issues, what is interesting, what I notice in my clinical experience, is that if I have a man with a libido problem, they will tell you that they will not exactly say they have that issue. You have to go around it. There will be a bunch of other things, and when we start talking about sex, they will be like, yeah, I haven't had a libido for a year. But this will not be the number one thing, because I think traditionally there's still a little bit of a shame probably associated to it.
Yeah.
Where, for example, a lot of my female patients, when we talk about a hormonal phase about your period, and then I ask about sex, they can't wait to tell me. They're like, yeah, no, it is awful, it is painful, it is uncomfortable, I don't want to ever think about it. It is interesting, the
Yeah.
perspective.
Yeah.
And I think, as a big data nerd, I know that on average, these global sperm quality is at 50% less than before. The frequency of people having sex, especially if you segregate that by age, has been historically low. Sex almost has taken such a back seat that nobody does it. If you ask, a married couple, especially if they have kids, the frequency of their sexual intercourse now is like, I don't know, once a month, like once every. The one I heard in the past was pretty extreme, was once a year, and that is the second year. Don't know yet. So, what I really want, and I'm so grateful to talk to you guys about sex, because everyone is like, but why are you so fascinated with it? Because I'm like, sexual health has historically been such a huge part of Chinese medicine. Like, think about all the concubines who married the emperor, right? The emperor would have 300 concubines. If he can't get it up, if he can't ejaculate, if he can't plant seeds everywhere every night, China didn't have a future. And that's a big deal. So this is why historically, sexual well-being, it's really important. And sexual health is fertility health. There is no sexual health without fertility health. So a lot of fertility patients I see will say, oh, sex is not fun, we're just trying to get it on so we can be pregnant. And that is really unfortunate. If there is no fun in the bedroom, there's not going to be that much of love and going into the child. If you're going to be in a super stressed out mode, right, your single focus is, I need to get pregnant, when you're having a sexual act, in Chinese medicine, in that moment of conception, that anxiety, that stress could be passed down. So in a way that it's really important to have fun sex, it's really important to have good sex, it's really important to, spend a lot of time doing it, because an orgasm for women, honestly, I can talk all day about it. There is literally zero negative thing about women having orgasm. In fact, orgasm in Chinese medicine really helps you reduce the pain, reduce cramp, give you happiness, improve your natural lubrication down there. And there is literally zero negative benefit. I can think about that. There is some sort of negativity about men who have sex too frequently, but I think in today's world, that's not even what we, worry about. It's more like nobody is doing it.
Yeah. Nobody's doing it.
Like, honestly, I'm like, every single time to my patients, I'm like, okay, so what is the frequency now for the interviewer? It is important. And I think it's like, what's wrong with the world is we focus so much in the end result rather than the process, right? Like these days, you talk to people who want to conceive, and like, we have sex, is like a schedule.
Yeah.
Who is going to have the fun having sex when you say 9 a.m. bedroom, we must do it now? Like, who? No one at all. We need to prioritize things that I feel like, almost natural to us being humans. The intimacy, the eating, the pooping, the urination, the enjoying looking at birds, like all these things. But if you think about it, like, people are taking a back seat on all of it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Right?
It's so interesting to me too, because everything you're describing that affects the bedroom, even when you're talking about like conceiving and fertility and having children when the way that you tried to conceive could have been like a stressful, intense situation, and that could be something that's like passed on. Or we're talking about trying to get in the mood and we need to have these little acts of intimacy throughout the day and what that could look like. It's funny because I feel like so much of us, besides the cast and I and the amazing people we talk to, chalk all that up and we like frame it as this like woo-woo thing that you do in your life if you have like that type of connection or that type of like woo-woo about you. And I think that's so rude to like an entire practice. And we're just like alienating this tool that could be so beneficial to us. But for some reason, we're uncomfortable with the idea of looking at sex as a bigger picture and approaching it from a perspective of like, we need to start way farther outside of the bedroom. And I guess I wonder if you like run into any of that with your clients when you're working with them of like, we don't need to focus on like our communication or like being super honest with each other. I just need to get an erection. Like, do you still hit any of those barriers with clients that you're seeing?
Well, I think my patients, well, first off, most of the time they are scared of me in a good way. So they usually will do what I say, but I do think there is a over focus and over emphasis on what is actually important. Like, for example, to me, right? And I can tell you in Chinese medicine, if the ejaculation is short, so this is getting into the technicality. It's
Love
a
it.
very common thing as men getting older, their ejaculation could be short. And so, like, it's like, you do the thing and then, like, it's short, or they come way faster than before,
Mm-hmm.
right? And these things are usually tossed by straight men as, I'm just too tired. I am just whatever. And when they start noticing, like, okay, maybe I should pay attention to it, is when it affects their interest. You see what I'm saying? So, like, they're built to think there is no problem with my performance. By default, there is no problem. They only realize, oh, there is a problem when they have no interest. They're like, I haven't thought about sex for 6 months. Like, what? And then they want a quick fix. Then they go get the male hormones. Then their interest is back on until premature ejaculation visits you way often than you would like. But you see what I'm saying? It's like
Yeah.
the emphasis is not in the right place. A sexual act, I understand for men, which is so linear tunnel vision in certain ways, especially when it concerns sex, right? You wanna basically just like, this is an act. I'm just done. I'm doing with the other person. The other person, well, if I want to be nice, I will consider them. But most of the time, this is the finishing line. Let me get to the finishing line. Which is the reason why Viagra sales has always been so good in this country. Because it focuses on the act. You get it up. Like, you get it up. There are plenty of people who can get it up and they don't enjoy sex, right? People who have been on antidepressants for a long time will have delayed ejaculation. They can work and work and work. It's not happening. But then what about the process of enjoying each other's company in this scary world that we live in? Isn't that amazing that you have someone you can share this intimacy with? If you think about it, like, I mean, when we're younger, do you think you were just show your private part to someone? Probably not. So my point is, it is a very special thing that your partner will do this with you. Have some appreciation rather than saying, okay, 5 minutes, maybe barely, and that's it, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of the times it is a focus. A lot of the times I find myself changing mindset, and that happens more often with men than women.
Yeah. If somebody came to you, or it sounds like they do a lot, who is having trouble reaching orgasm, what are some of those practices or tips that you would start out with?
Well, I think it differs by gender. We all know penetrative sex for women is like, I mean, the data is like really low, right? I love the technology of sex toys. I don't think like, a lot of people are really threatened by that, but like, there's nothing wrong with it.
Right.
And I always recommend that to my female patients. Including, and most importantly, to my female patients who are perimenopausal or menopausal, who, due to the drop in estrogen, might have lower moisture down there. It is really important, I always say to everybody, to dedicate a good portion of your time playing with yourself or with a partner.
Mhm.
There is nothing more important than that for women. If you're 80 years old, you're still having a great sex life, you're still having orgasm, amazing. That means for sure you're gonna live happily for as long as possible. You
Mhm.
know, like I don't want any women to think like, ugh, I'm 49 now and that train has sailed. No, that train should never sail. That might sail for men, not for you. You know, and that is really the anatomically difference, right? And I usually like, I think like what is very important, if we don't talk about Chinese medicine, we just talk about mental preparedness. I
Mhm.
will always tell a man to focus on paying attention to the partner you're going to have a sexual intercourse with.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Are they a human? Did you purposely consent to this act, or are they just, doesn't matter who they are, you just need to get it on with it?
Right.
Mhm.
A lot of the times for younger men in particular who have impotence, and they're shocked, they're like, how is this possible? I work out, I am so fit. Oh yeah, that happens. And they feel like it's the women, or like, am I just too nervous? Only when it happens so often you're like, maybe there is something wrong. Like, you know, they don't look inward until the last resort, right? And oftentimes, other than the usual pathological things I will find and I will fix, I will always tell them that give a lot of respect and care to the partner.
Mhm.
This is why I don't have the statistics there, but I would like someone to study the statistics. If you have, I think a lot of men who have a one night stand will have more chance of having erectile dysfunction than otherwise, because they don't pay attention to their partner.
Mm.
It's a quick act they want to do, and oftentimes when they're in this act they are intoxicated. And I should mention, like, there is nothing worse for men in terms of libido than alcohol.
Mm.
So, you know, the whole drunk sex thing doesn't really work.
Yeah.
Might work
Yeah.
when you're 18, doesn't work when you're 38. You know?
I only go to bed once I drink alcohol these days. It's a flip switched when I was like 28 and I used to be able to party, and now I'm just like, wine bed. So if that's the same for a penis, I get it.
M on penises.
Yeah.
Another correlation, am I right?
You know, the penises are having a lot of anxiety these days. I feel them. But then, you know, women, we have been having whatever we have been having for centuries. So
Right.
I have very little sympathy. I mean, I do for my patients. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But like, but it is, you know, and it's very easy to tell when this is not just psychological. If it happens, and my rule of thumb is 3.
Mm.
If it happened 3 times in a row, this is not something you can just take a deep breath or take Xanax. Don't take that Xanax, by the way. Take Xanax and go have sex, and you will do it. No.
Mm.
Uh, and usually, what's interesting in Chinese medicine is that most people, especially men, who have erectile dysfunction or ejaculation problem, also have urination issue. They just don't realize it. So often it happens like they dribble when they pee, or they go pee way often when they need to, or they think they have the urge to pee, but when they pee there isn't much pee, or they pee more than twice a night after they go to bed. For
Hmm.
women, and in general for women and men, the whole interest, aka libido, tend to happen more often to people who tend to feel cold more easily. But then there is a difference. For women in particular, I have found, clinically speaking, before the age of 30, you have a great sex life if you feel cold easily, because you get the warmth from the man you have sex with, right? Or women, whoever you would like to have sex with. But then, like, as you age, that becomes the opposite. So this is why, like, you will have, clinically speaking, you will have a lot of women who have great sex life in their 20s or late teens, and then starting from 30, suddenly no longer the same. There is a significant drop in libido, to the point where you just like, it's almost like I don't even think about it.
Huh.
So it's very different, and
Yeah.
that's the thing I always nerd out on sex life, because it is such an important indicator of one's vitality.
Mm.
Yeah.
Are there other things that we aren't thinking about that could be indicators of something to work on? Like when you're saying frequent urination or being cold, never in my life could I have assumed that that could be
Right.
correlated. So are there other
Mm.
like physical responses our bodies are trying to give us as cues to look closer at something going on within our bodies or within our sexual health?
One of the most controversial thing, people hate this when I say this, but it's true, is that if you wake up with no appetite, that is usually a strong indicator that there is something wrong with the digestion.
Mm.
Only Americans feel shocked by this. Everybody else from other countries, nobody, very few. I have patients all over the world. No one feels shocked by that. Only Americans, because I think our culture is either you eat breakfast of champions, right, or you drink a cup of coffee and you're done.
Mhm.
Or these days, you have your matcha latte or you have your smoothie and you're like, I'm good to go. The reality of the matter is that digestion produces all the nutrients you need for your body. A
Mm.
sense, after we're born, it's basically the digestion that process whatever you eat day and night and then turn it into functionality and blood, chi and blood. And that same chi and blood is there to sustain your boner. All right. So if you wake up like groggy, although you had a good night of sleep, you wake up groggy and you're like, I have no appetite. And some people are so extreme, they don't have an appetite until 11 o'clock. Then that means no matter how much time you spend in the gym, your energy and your immunity and your ability to bounce back is just not the same. That means, I always say like digestion works like a blender. We have $20 Ninja Bullet, $800 whatever Vitamix. Then that means you're probably a $20 Ninja Bullet. Not to shit on Ninja Bullet, pardon my French. But you see what I'm saying is like so it's so this is the reason why you see, if you're looking at a history of porn stars, why will a renowned economist have a abnormal or obsession with history of porn stars? I have no idea. But like, if you look at the history of porn stars, it is much for male porn stars. It is actually it is. Although obviously in the porn industry, like women have to retire because they look different or whatever, but you will see that it is actually easier for men to retire early than for women because you have to produce a hard on and the ejaculation on camera, right?
Mhm.
So, and this is your job. So imagine the number of sexual acts that they have to perform on a weekly basis. So this is so much of exertion on a normal sexual act that has an impact on the sustainability of your sexual act. Whereas for a woman porn star, like I said, for women, an orgasm or a sexual act, if anything, is really good for you. So it's not going to make a difference to their longevity, so to speak, which is why I always want to see porn stars as my patients, because I'm like, I can make you last in this field for as long as possible. But we often say that, which is like, I think for women, I have had these questions before where people say like, can women have sex like often and nothing happens? No, nothing happens. In fact, if you are of a cold person, your circulation is bad, you have sexual act that really increases your circulation.
Mhm.
There is nothing bad with it. Just be safe.
Yeah.
But for a male, because there is ejaculation, historically speaking, how fast you can replenish that ejaculation, it's actually has an impact. So for man, over sex, like you do it 20 times a day or something, is never a good idea.
Yeah.
I love that for us.
Mhm. I love winning.
Finally.
Finally.
Something, it's something that we're yes.
Is there anything within Chinese medicine that says something about orgasms and your like longevity and your like vitality and your quality of life?
So what people don't know is there were a handful of historical books about sexual positions and things like that, right? In ancient times, because Chinese have been around for a very long time. So we're obsessed with having kids, and how do you get to the kids? You got to have, your frequency. So this has been studied to the bone, basically. There, I think there is in terms of longevity for women in particular, back in the days, it was not talked about as much because, like any other society, we don't matter as much, right? However, in Chinese medicine, if you consider the concepts, even just basic theory and the way we diagnose, right? There is nothing that's, in my opinion, there is nothing better for women than an orgasm to help you feel healthier. The reason is because if you think about your ovarian, the anatomy of it all, right? Even if you go do belly dance, there is nothing that help you work out that area because it's so hidden. And in Chinese, it's called Tai Yin, means the ultimate yin, which means it's just all darkness and wetness and all of that. This is the reason why, if you think about the cancer, the kind of cancer women tend to get is all more commonly in those areas. There is no movement, there is no qi and blood circulation, nothing. So fibroids, for example, this is also the reason why a lot of women with fibroids tend to have surgery, and then after 6 months, it grow back because the environment doesn't change. The internal, that's what Chinese medicine work on, is to change your internal environment. If the environment doesn't change, it's going to grow back. It doesn't make a difference, right? Now, so for women, having orgasm really exercise that area that doesn't get exercised. So I always think, especially during PMS, have orgasm, have sex, have fun with yourself, just stay at home and have fun, whatever you do. It is so important. It will then make the blood flow when the menstrual cycle eventually happens much more smoother. Now, obviously, this is a generalization. If you have a fibroid, depending on the position, if you use a toy, it might hurt, etc. So exercise with caution. But generally speaking, during PMS, especially when you have a surging libido, there's nothing better than having sex. This is even a case for women who have irregular period. Have you heard that some women have this trick, like they don't have their period, their boyfriend comes to help you, and suddenly they have a period. That actually has some truth to it. Just don't have sex during the time you're bleeding. That's really the key. Because when you are bleeding, if you're having sex, is actually not a good thing. It could make the circulation worse. But before, it's great.
Interesting. Yeah, we've had a lot of people come on and talk about period sex and it being a thing that is fun or could alleviate cramps or assist your body. So I'm curious about that.
You do it before, not during. When you're bleeding, and this is the case especially for women who tend to have clots, duct bleeding, cramp. If you're having clitoral location like orgasm, great. That you can do anytime. Not penetrative sex. Penetrative sex, it's just messy. Number 2, not very clean. You don't want to get things from your partner from that time, and also higher chance of UTI, and also just do it before. Now, when you're having cramp, having a orgasm just from the localized area like a clitoris is great. Other than that, penetrative sex, no.
Interesting.
That works for me. Love that.
That works for me.
I don't need another excuse not to have penetrative sex.
Nice.
Yeah, the data doesn't lie. I mean, unfortunately, penetrative sex, I think the data last time I saw was 35% or 40% for women who can achieve orgasm. It's really,
Yeah.
It's
Everybody.
Is it almost like the your partner is having the great performance? I want you to clap on, and you're just like, nah.
No,
this isn't great for me.
No,
I think anytime anybody's in that situation, they should say the data doesn't lie. And I think that should be the slogan we're all using to say no to penetrative sex.
There's nothing that will make that penis go softer than you say data doesn't lie.
Data doesn't lie.
Data doesn't lie. Oh, looks like we can't do it. Okay.
Something I want to mention, though, is a lot of men do this. I'm sure, when I used to live in New York City, I see this all the time in public transit, and I'm like, seriously? Men sit there, adjust their balls. Do you see that?
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, it's
So that is something called damp heat in Chinese medicine, and they're doing it subconsciously.
Okay.
It's doing it subconsciously. One is because they're just obsessed with their balls, but the second thing is really they just it's just uncomfortable. It is truly uncomfortable. The issue is that if you start having issues like that, sooner or later, you're going to have performance issue.
So those men, that's the key. That's how we know.
That's how you know.
Whoa.
Next time you see them on the MTA, tap them and say,
Give them my
"Excuse
card.
me, excuse me." Yeah, it is because the 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 balls, the genitals don't like overheating.
Mm-hmm.
We know this. This is the same for sperm health. It doesn't like overheating. So, like when you have that low grade dampness and hot, almost like a Florida weather, but on your balls, this is not good. This is not good. So,
Don't want it either.
sorry, Florida. But like, yeah,
Yeah. No, I would take that as a bad sign too if I pulled someone's pants down and it felt like Florida down there. So I wouldn't want it for me or them collectively.
No, for
all,
nobody.
all around.
yeah.
Oh my God. That's incredible. I feel like there's just so much to dive in here. And it's so much to learn. It's my favorite thing. This is so exciting. Cass, I was gonna ask about like tongue stuff, unless you had
Sure.
another.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to know a little bit more about your tongue readings because I'm interested in how that can tell anything about our health.
So tongue reading, so very quickly, your
Mhm.
tongue is a reflection of your internal organs in Chinese medicine. It's been around for 3,000 years, is one of the four main diagnostic methods we use to analyze someone's internal health. The way I do tongue reading is a little bit different because like my father likes to comment very early on. Uh, he would say I'm more like a fortune teller when it comes to tongue reading rather than a Chinese medicine doctor because I like it when people give me no symptoms. And in fact, I encourage it. Don't give me any symptoms. But I need to tell whether you're a man or woman. Sometimes like or like they, because I like that actually matters. But oftentimes I don't need anything. And I will spell out all your internals, all your symptoms by looking at the physical. How I do it is that I will say there are three physical issues on this tongue, physical characteristics of this tongue that is abnormal
Mhm.
and then what that means in Chinese medicine. And I will give you a spiel on possible symptoms. It is very scary. I have had more than a handful of patients who either dropped the bowl of cereal they were eating while looking at the tongue reading or started shaking. But it is all science because I am a health economist. We do big data. And there is nothing more scientific than Chinese medicine because it is basically longitudinal data for 3,000 years,
Yeah.
especially given how Chinese medicine traditionally likes to see people from the same family unit. And yes, I can tell people's sexual interest and act just by looking at people's tongue as well, which is pretty hilarious because I think a long time ago, not to name the name, there might be a certain person in the industry, and I could tell that it's not going well. So yeah, because your tongue changes, you see. Your tongue changes unless I'm looking at the tongue of a kid under 6 years old, which can be inaccurate because they're still growing. Most of the time for adult tongue, I ask for my patient's tongue every single time when I see them because as you improve, your tongue is going to change. And in terms of sexuality, like if I have a patient who sees me because they have been impotent for 2 years, it changes as you improve. So that's very important.
That's wild. That's
Yeah, I always say like prepare to be unless you don't like book it if you want me to spell your secrets. Like you haven't told anybody anything and I just spell it out and I have a patient that's like, did you have a drone in my head? And I
nope. Looking at your tongue.
That's but it's definitely not the only aspect of Chinese medicine.
Yeah.
Diagnosis is so important. That's why in my one-on-one I will ask 5 categories of questions from sexual health to digestion to mental health to miscellaneous to others because it's all tied up to a root cause for why this is happening.
Yeah.
Right, which is why if you think about it, if you have been impotent, let's say for 2 years, you go get male hormones. And is it just that easy that you're gonna be fine again? No,
Right.
it's way more than that. So I really want to caution all the middle-aged men out there who are either getting the male hormones or thinking of getting it. The side effect might be premature ejaculation, and there is nothing worse than you having a lot of interest but poor performance. So think about how that will make you feel because, like I said, sexual act is a yin yang act. The interest is one thing, the performance is just as important, if not more important.
Yeah.
So.
Oh,
You
that's
are just blowing our minds.
crazy.
Oh, thank you guys for talking to me
Yeah.
about sex. It's so funny because I was telling my team, I said, they're like, okay, like you get so many invitations. What do you want to do? I was like, I want to talk about sex and Chinese medicine. They're like, okay, we gotta find a podcast that
Look
talks
at
about sex.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I just don't think people take this seriously enough, you know?
Absolutely. I think exactly
Absolutely.
what you just said. We focus so much on we want one result that we think will solve our issues, but we're not looking at the root cause of it. And so, like you're saying, we could get Viagra, someone could get Viagra, but it's like your performance will still be shit because what you're taking care of isn't the issue. And then we still get so confused about like what is going on in our sex lives. Like you're not even really addressing
You're
what's
not
going
addressing.
on.
You know, I am this is very weird, but I used to collect international vintage copies of Playboy.
Cool.
And they were so well written, the articles back then.
Mm-hmm.
And then you will notice there are like, I'm sure if anybody bought it these days, it will be like, oh, not enough of boobs, just like words. Like it was a lot more than just like,
Mhm.
than the and, right? Like, so like it's really important. And one quick thing about Viagra, clinically, I definitely see people who start taking Viagra way younger. The problem of Viagra down the road, not even down the road, maybe very quickly, is heart health.
Mm.
Because sexual health and Chinese medicine is the kidney as an organ, has the corresponding part is heart. This is why a lot of people who take Viagra, you will hear these stories or in movies that like suddenly died from in the middle of a sexual act, right? So that's definitely the case because sex is like fire and water. The water comes from kidneys and fire comes from the heart. You have too much fire, not enough of water from the kidney. This is going to trigger a heart attack. So definitely please don't jump on the pill. Just think that it's gonna make you better. Like maybe ask for your partner first. Do you think once I get on Viagra, you're happier? Most of the time, probably not.
Yeah.
So
Such a good point.
you have your long-term health to consider. It's
Yeah.
not just getting it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. This conversation has just been incredible. I do have one more question about the tongue readings. Is there anything that we can do at home, like looking at our tongues, that we could, like, obviously you are the expert, so we're not going to be able to give ourselves the same full download that you'd be able to, but is there anything we can look in the mirror, look at our tongues and tell about ourselves or our sexual healths?
I knew you were going to ask that. So there is a free DIY download of the basics of tongue reading on my website.
Cool.
Perfect.
Yeah, just download it and then do it. The key thing for tongue reading is number one, don't scrape your tongue, otherwise you're cheating, right? Number two, do it right after you get up. That's the most accurate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I will tell my team to share the link and everything because like we have the free download and have fun.
Amazing.
Maybe Cass and I can practice reading our own tongue and then we can have you back on and tell you what we found and you can tell us if we're right.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
Amazing. Okay, well, we like to wrap up our episodes with a little bit of homework or advice for our listeners. With everything that we've discussed, what could be one actionable step that they could take away with what you teach, what you practice, that they can start implementing into their life to help them with their sexual health?
I think the number one is have sex more in the morning rather than at night.
Ooh, do tell.
Love that.
This is both beneficial for fertility, right? And also for a variety of reasons. In the morning is really when the yang qi is rising, the functionality is supposed to be at its best. Now, this doesn't apply to people who already have issues where they wake up feeling like, right? But like the normal way should be, the better way should be you have sex in the morning. So your weekend, lazing around at home, walking around naked, have fun, like brilliant, do it, right? The whole night sex, imagine you had a whole day of stress. You're exhausted. The kids are in bed. You just had wine. I mean, you're semi-lucid. That sex act is just not going to be satisfying both from emotional perspective or a physical perspective, right? So do more sex in the morning. Number two, highly recommend everybody to quit drinking, and then also definitely don't drink before you have a sexual act. the alcohol goes into the liver, as we all know. If anything, it might give you that urge that you're like more, horny right now, but it doesn't mean the end result, the performance will be better.
Mm.
So, no alcohol. And lastly, I would say that, again, redefine intimacy and sex. It's not just penetration. We've been involved for like however many long as humans, but we still like, everybody is still like obsessed with the penis. Is like, think bigger than the penis.
Think bigger than the penis. Won't be
Yeah,
hard.
think bigger. That would be, if I run a political campaign, that would be my slogan. Yeah,
I'd vote for you in a second.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's very important. The penis
God.
cannot take the spotlight that much,
Yeah.
and we all know that. And
Oh
it's
my
very
God.
important to think beyond that and get creative.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh, I love it so much. Can you let our listeners know like where they can connect with you after this episode if they want to work with you, learn from you, all of that good stuff?
Right. We are on Instagram mainly, and our account is at KUN Health. And if you think I'm funny right now, you can see me on Instagram. I'm like this, exactly the same. Even when my patients see me one-on-one, they're like, "You're exactly the same." I'm like, "Am I supposed to be different?" Like, I am exactly like this. So it's shocking. I was a very highly ranked economist, but so that's how you find us at Kun Health. And if you want the free tongue reading, or you want to book the tongue reading or book a one-on-one, or just learn everything about Chinese medicine, definitely follow us.
All right. Well, I know you bodied the rest of that matcha, but you said, but it's not.
Let's clarify some things.
Okay.
First of all, if you're on Patreon, which you should be, the matcha was up to there.
Mm-hmm.
It was up to there.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I need to justify my food intake to you. We agreed very early on in this friendship that we were never going to comment on the amount of consumption that either of us
I think it mattered about
engages in.
drinking, but I guess now that I don't want you to comment on how much wine I drink, I guess we could include drinking.
I suppose we can make an additional.
I also didn't
Yeah.
want to admit, like an appendix,
Yes,
a little.
thank you.
Yeah.
I didn't know what that word was.
No, I mean, because I'm never gonna quit drinking, but also, if it affects my sex life, I'll pause. But as of now, it hasn't. So my tongue is gonna have to say something way different than quit drinking, because I'm not gonna.
It's gonna have to say drink more.
Drink more, you thirsty bitch. Anyway, I cannot wait to do that tongue reading, though. I'm so
I know.
excited. We already talked about having Jaiming back on and having like doing our own DIY reading and kind of seeing what. Well, no, that was in the episode, so you heard that. But
What wasn't in the episode was us having her back on to do a Q&A with your guys' questions. So whatever questions you have, like, please let us know. We'll make sure we put a little question box on Instagram for you to submit those.
yeah,
But you can also email us or like whatever.
or like whatever. But thank you so much, Jaiming, for being on the episode today, and thank you to our honeys for tuning in.
You can head on over to Apple Podcasts to rate, review, and subscribe to Honey Do Me. Leave us a written review. Rate us on Spotify. Like I said in the intro, join us over on Patreon if you want to watch the video episodes or get exclusive content. And if you just want some time with your girls, try one-on-one coaching.
Yeah.
We're here.
We're here, and we love you. So we will
Yeah.
see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.